Did you have it before you started working on the Exxon Valdez?
No. And the same thing with my eyesight. I don't know if my failing eyesight, I'm going blind.
You think you were poisoned out there?
Yes. Silently poisoned. And that's what's happening going to happen to those people down in Gulf.
Are they concerned about your health?
They never asked us. They never said anything. Nobody ever checked with us. Nobody. They never did a follow-up on us, never asked if we ever had any consequences of it. They could have cared less. I'm serious. There was no follow-up.
Today, Dr. Kevin O'Shea, he's the physician in charge of BP's medical response in the Gulf. He told me that in the 4 states affected by the spill, more than 1,500 cleanup workers have now complained of some illness or injury.
A worker sick. Worker is sick. Worker is sick.
Are the beaches safe? Walton County residents stepped up to the podium at Tuesday night's County Commission meeting looking for an answer. Local businessman Ed Berry.
Children were in the water swimming, coming out of the water with tar balls on their face, wiping their face and having tar in their eyes, on their mouth.
That horrifying image has local officials working to up the ante.
Coast Guard planes are flying overhead at night spraying Corexit. You know, you're asking me, do you think it's getting on land? I'm telling you it's getting sprayed on land. You know, and I know from my work with pesticide applications that even if you have a very good pilot, the drift can be of concern, but the secondary effects are the kind of volatilization, evaporation, and then movement. So it's applied, it sits on the surface, it comes on up a little bit, and then it moves around. And you know wave action, you know a bird landing there and then coming over here and landing there is going to be another mechanism to transport it. So do I think that there's dispersants mixing with our everyday lives? Absolutely. The Corexit dispersant issue is a complex and scary one. It's scary from the point of a toxicologist. It's complex from the point of the resource manager. My doctoral advisor, Dr. Ron Cherdima at UC Davis, was actually on the panel that they had used to advise for the dispersant use. They use a cost-benefit analysis. The costs of cleaning up the shore outweigh the costs of applying dispersants at the sea. Therefore, they perceive the benefit of the dispersants outweigh their negative effects. Okay? What value can you really put on the entire ecosystem of the Gulf that is threatened? They've turned a two-dimensional problem of oil floating on the surface into a three-dimensional problem of oil bound with Corexit, creating substances we know very little about, you know, transforming in the environment through bacterial process into other chemicals that we know absolutely nothing about, that is going to be impacting just about every single marine organism, including ourselves.
And because of the existence of these microbes, we never heard of it? Could this location have been punctured on purpose so that more of this material would come out? Could the real purpose of these chemicals that are being sprayed on top of this material be so that the microbes cannot eat it, therefore allowing it to come to shore right at the beginning of the summer, so that it has more shock value effect to those witnessing in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida? What if what's killing the animals is not the quote-unquote oil, but the chemicals? If this was a premeditated event, what is the real purpose and the expected outcome?
Now all we can do is send these out and get some answers. You know, we got this one from the shore break in Grand Isle. We got this one from the rock jetty in Grand Isle, right there at the very end. They call it the end of the world, actually, which is ironic, but that's where we were. And then this is the one that we got from 20 miles out. You can see the oil blob right there.
There is a lot of something that is not oil in the oil booger, if you will, inside the water sample, and that's why it wasn't acting really like oil. Now, I think a big clue was were the results for the propane dial. Now, when we call, I have a guesstimate. Well, I have an estimate here of how much is in there. Now, the number I came up with was 430 parts per million. Okay, it's actually a very large number for propane diol in water. Okay, that's how much we're getting from the water.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, let me put it this way: the propane diol is actually part of Corexit. Okay, so if I'm measuring 430 parts per million of propane diol in the water itself, this is just one part of Corexit. The Corexit itself has to be a much bigger number. And it turns out that the toxic level for Corexit for fish is 25 parts per million. So we're measuring at least 425 is toxic in water. And if you're in the presence of oil, and the fish encounters oil with mixed in with Corexit, it drops down to 2.6 parts per million as being toxic. So the sample you handed me was probably about 150 times the toxic level for fish. How's that for a starter?
You're kidding me.
No, I am not kidding you. So that's just for the propane diol. Now that means the fact that the propane diol is in the water means that the other compounds of Corexit must also be in the water. And that means this water is, well, like I said, the fact that it was mixed with oil, that you had a sample there with oil in it, that means that the level of Corexit in that water was about 150 times the toxic level for fish. And for people, that also certainly means that the number is way too high. From what I'm seeing here, that you don't even have to see the oil to be exposed to Corexit, because the Corexit is in the water, not only in the oil, it's in the water itself. Because this GC I ran, I drew away from the oil. I did not get oil into the sample. It was just water. So I put just water in the machine. I'm getting 430 parts per million propylene glycol. And then, of course, the propylene glycol is considered to be a minor component, and that's the stuff I was measuring. The propylene glycol itself is 430 parts per million. That's just the propylene glycol. That's not the others. That has to be even higher. If you add up all the components, that water was just jammed with the stuff. The thing is that the level you find on the surface is many times higher than was needed to kill fish. This stuff is hitting the beaches, is coming up as sea spray, and people are breathing it. And that can explain, if you're swimming in this stuff, if you're breathing this stuff, you're swallowing this stuff, you're going to have problems. It reminds me, when I'm thinking about those commercials from the governor of Florida saying, "Don't worry, everything's fine, come on down." Okay, that reminds me of that time that the EPA told the people at Ground Zero that there was no asbestos in the air, when there was. Okay, I don't know where they're getting their information. This water is poisonous.
More tar balls have been discovered washing up along Florida's Atlantic coast. The tar balls were spotted along a 2 to 3 mile stretch of Cocoa Beach east of Orlando. This has beachgoers concerned about how widespread the tar balls seem to be.
We saw these big tar balls coming in, just a few of them, and I brought it up to the lifeguard, and they said they're investigating down south more.
The Coast Guard is taking samples of the oil for testing, as the lady said, to see if they are from the Gulf spill. It's possible the tar could be from the fuel tank of a shrimping boat, which sank a few weeks back.
BP is also insisting that government air testing is showing, quote, "We have not had a single reading above OSHA regulations to date." And as for respirators, the company says there has been no demonstrated need for them. No single issue high enough to warrant a respirator.